Chapter 1536. Begin. Lin Feng's face heated up from the other party's breath. Yunhu lowered his lids. I'm ready. Aren't we going to start? Of course. Lin Feng moved his right hand and pushed him against the wall. His voice was hoarse. But I have to start. What a joke, he had been kissed by Yunhu before. Every time he kissed him, his waist would weaken and his mind would go blank. Not to mention taking the initiative. Wouldn't he lie flat on the ground? Hence, even if they had to start, he had to be the one to start. Yunhu didn't know what Lin Feng was thinking. But someone had to take the initiative. Of course, he wouldn't reject anyone. Okay, you'll start. Yunhu lowered his gaze as he spoke. Lin Feng moved closer, but somehow, he felt that something was very awkward. Probably because his heart was beating too fast. It was so fast that he didn't know why, but he felt that the breath from Yunhu's body had stuck to his body before he even touched him. Yunhu noticed Lin Feng's hesitation. His grip tightened bit by bit. Until now, he was still worried that this fellow couldn't accept it. And he had the mood to do it. But he still hadn't figured out what exactly was going on. Every time, he was the one who took the initiative to kiss him. Then he was forced to accept it. Could Lin Feng really accept him as a man? It wasn't just in his mind. No. The moment Lin Feng said those two words, everyone was stunned. Yunhu's heart felt as though it had been cut by a knife. He steadied his breath and tried his best not to show his emotions. Usually, this kind of thing can be accepted. You can't look at me like that. Lin Feng raised his eyes once more. Perhaps it was because his skin was too fair, everyone could see the pink on his neck. However, his aura did not lose. Close your eyes. I say, Hu Zi, do you have any common sense? Who would open their eyes when being kissed? Yunhu paused for a moment before smiling. I forgot, I'll close my eyes now. So this guy was just shy. He even brought up the topic of whether he had common sense or not. Fortunately, he was shy. If he really couldn't accept it, what should he do? The moment Yunhu thought of this, his heart would contract. However, at this moment, Lin Feng lowered his gaze. It was a kiss that left as soon as they touched. If Yunhu's eyes were open, they would be deep. Stop yourself from responding. It was because they hadn't reached the back yet. If he couldn't control himself now, he wouldn't get the sweetest part. Lin Feng only kissed her once, but it was as if he was addicted. The scent became stronger and stronger, causing him to lean in again. But this time, he didn't know what went wrong. Yunhu just replied to him. His brain seemed to be unable to react again. His heart was beating faster than ever. His aura wasn't stable at all. By the time he reacted, his waist had already been grabbed by the other party. But in front of a kiss, all of this seemed unimportant. Lin Feng had to admit that this guy's kissing skills were too good. Perhaps it was not only his kissing skills, but also the flames that were ignited wherever his hands touched seemed to be inextinguishable. A numbing sensation could be felt from his tailbone. Beneath him was the soft bedding. When the watch on his wrist was pressed against him, Lin Feng shuddered. His vitals were being held by someone else. Lin Feng just said, "Don't." The man leaned over and his voice missed his face, hitting the back of his ears again and again. You like it? Indeed, he liked it. No one would dislike being treated like this. It was a completely different feeling from his own hands. Lin Feng couldn't describe it. He only felt his thoughts drifting away. He didn't have the ability to think anymore. Not to mention the matter of taking the initiative and not taking the initiative. Between his fingers, the scent was the temperature he could feel the most. And the heat that hit his shoulder when he lowered his lids. The temperature in the entire room rose. Lin Feng didn't have the chance to see his face. At the start, he didn't want it. But now, he wanted him to stay a little longer. Yunhu's eyes dimmed. He seemed to be enduring something. When the kiss landed on the side of his ear, he didn't forget to reach for something. At this moment, Lin Feng was really floating. Both his eyes were looking at the ceiling. His body was still in the most numbing warmth. All of a sudden, he lifted her up in his arms. In that instant, it wasn't that he didn't feel pain. Lin Feng's eyes widened in an instant. He said, F***ck. He wanted to push him away. Yunhu also stopped at this moment. The sweat on his forehead was more than ever. I'm sorry, I probably can't stop. Lin Feng's eyes widened again. The next moment, he could feel the other party's kiss landing. But he didn't have the slightest intention of stopping. Not only that. There was even a feeling that he was going to be engulfed entirely. After this thing got used to it. He didn't know why, but what came surging was more numbness. Lin Feng's entire body was soft. It was as if he was fished out of the water. His thoughts were all jumbled up. But it was his voice beside his ear. You're right. This model is really useful. Lin Feng felt the strength from the other party. There was something mixed in it. It actually stimulated more numbness. Lin Feng recalled the mysterious words his boss had said to him. Try it on your boyfriend. There will be unexpected effects. Now, Lin Feng finally experienced what that effect was. He wanted more. Yunhu also realized that this thing was different from the one he usually used. He only paused for a moment before he didn't restrain his strength anymore. In the full-length mirror, one could see a fair-skinned, handsome man being held by another man at the waist from behind. As his black hair fell, the man looked as if he could not take it anymore and arched his neck. Yunhu didn't hesitate at all. He lowered his head and gave him a deep kiss. He didn't intend to let him go. From the moment he knew what he was going to do. That was Yunhu's plan. He could be called despicable. Anything else was better. As long as he could have him. That was more important than anything else. Lin Feng finally understood what it felt like to walk into a trap. But it was all too late. Who would have thought that the thing he had meticulously prepared would be used on himself? And who was the one who said that he wouldn't be suppressed if he took the initiative? It was impossible to say that Lin Feng didn't have any resentment. But, no matter what, he had enjoyed it. It wasn't as hard to accept as he had imagined. It was just very awkward. So much so that the next morning, the sky hadn't even brightened. Chapter 1537. After escaping, Lin Feng didn't go anywhere. He went straight back to the Lin family's house. With the marks on his body, he definitely wouldn't be able to go to the construction site. It was obvious that his waist and legs weren't feeling well. Moreover, his throat was dry. Yunhu hadn't intended to let him have a good sleep yesterday. At this thought, Lin Feng pulled the blanket over his head. F***ck. If it had been him, he wouldn't have let him have a good sleep either. But if it had been him, he wouldn't have let him have a good sleep either. Everything was different now. He just found out that Yunhu was born in the year of the dog. The type of dog that looked like a wolf puppy. It was a popular term nowadays. Lin Feng had never imagined that there would be a day when he would use this term on Yunhu. He didn't have a fever. Lin Feng realized that his body was clean when he woke up. It must have been after he fainted last night. Yunhu had carried him to shower. Lin Feng tightened his grip again. His face was hot. Perhaps it was because the aura that had been branded on his body was too strong. Even now, Lin Feng felt as if he could hear that guy's low panting next to his ear as soon as he closed his eyes. He could also hear that deep voice and heat, F***ck. Lin Feng moved, intending to stand up and take a shower. However, it was also at this moment. His cell phone rang in his pocket. It was a message from Little Spade, asking daily, "How was yesterday? Did you take down Almighty Yun?" When she sent this message, she was sitting in the team's canteen, supporting her chin lazily. Ever since they had recruited new members, the Chin group had specially set up a small canteen for the young trainees to have a balanced diet. After all, as esports gained recognition, the age of the trainees was getting younger. At first, Bojo didn't mind since she liked to sleep. In school, she would lie on her desk without hesitation to catch up on her sleep since hackers operated at night. She would naturally feel sleepy during the day. Bojo had intended to find a place to sleep while the trainees ate. Just then, she saw the small figure holding a steamed bun in his hand. There was a cup beside him which seemed to be filled with hot water. He was reading while munching on the steamed bun and drinking the hot water. There wasn't a single expression on his fair and clear face. It was probably because she was still underage, and she was small to begin with. Bojo found the little kid extremely adorable. Her hand paused for a moment before she perked up. She stuffed one hand into her pocket, her silver hair falling down. She kept her phone, picked up her plate, and walked towards the little figure. Little Mo-Bay was originally swallowing a bun, but when she saw the person sitting opposite her, her ears reddened for some reason. Bojo arched a brow. How can you just eat steamed buns? When I was your age, I would eat 5 steamed buns with bean meat. Little Mo-Bay was about to speak. The man picked up the chopsticks, picked up a piece of egg, and brought it to her mouth. Little Mo-Bay's eyes drifted a little, but there was no expression on her face. Bojo smiled lazily. Little Mo-Bay, what are you waiting for? Come, open your mouth. No one would reject their idol, including little Mo-Bay. However, just as she opened her mouth and swallowed the food in one mouthful. Chapter 1538. Just as little Mo-Bay was suspecting if she had seen wrongly, Chin Mo walked towards them. He reached out and pulled Bojo's collar from the back. Don't force a child to eat things she doesn't like. Bojo tilted her head and her gaze changed. Then, she looked at the person in front of her. Little Mo-Bay doesn't like eggs? Little Mo-Bay looked at her captain's gaze and then at her idol's face, which could make one's ears turn red. Her voice was cold and serious. I like it. Then, eat more. Bojo picked up another piece of egg and passed it over. Chin Mo narrowed his eyes. He didn't say anything, but the cold aura from his body made his assistant, who had come over, push his spectacles up the bridge of his nose. Was young master jealous? Actually, he wasn't jealous. But in the past, a certain someone had always accompanied him. Now, he seemed to be overly concerned about the child in front of him. Bojo indeed treated little Mo-Bay differently. After all, at the start, if it wasn't for this child, she wouldn't have been able to enter so quickly. Moreover, the child's aura was similar to Chin Mo's when he was young. Bojo would definitely be more concerned about her. But after caring for her, she realized that this child was different from others. She was always alone. She would spend the least amount of money on food. She didn't like to talk. When she practiced, she was more hardworking than anyone else. Playing esports was indeed a test of whether a person had the talent in this area. Not everyone who liked to play games was suitable for this industry. Some people were born to play well. And no matter how much they practiced, they would still be the same in the end. Hence, when some people gave up their studies to play esports, they had to consider carefully. After all, this industry wasn't suitable for everyone. Did they have the mental capacity to handle it? Did they have the talent? Did they know what was the most important thing in gaming? How fast their hands were and how good their judgment was. This was also the reason why Supreme Alliance would go through layers of screening when they recruited. Even if this method of selection would make people say that Supreme Alliance didn't treat them well after they got the first place, they would still use this method to screen. Every industry had its bright and beautiful side. Similarly, there was a side that wasn't known to people. Even Supreme Alliance wouldn't be liked by everyone. Those who hadn't made a name for themselves were either idolizing or waiting for Supreme Alliance to fall. Hence, when he found out about Supreme Alliance's recruitment conditions, he would mock them. After mocking them, he would say, "Let's stop here, in case Supreme Alliance's fans say that their eyes are sore. I really like playing esports. It doesn't matter if I'm popular or not, I'm just playing. I just can't stand it when some people start to look down on ordinary people after getting first place. What a joke. Words like that would definitely spread among the trainees. Bojio had been on duty for the past 2 days and had heard such discussions. He also knew that some of them felt that they weren't valued enough and were wondering if they should join Supreme Alliance. When Bojio heard this, she leaned against the wall and smiled. She didn't seem to care who stayed and who left. But just as she was about to leave. Chapter 1539. What does a child like you know? Some people join just because they like it. The trainees seem to have found the little kid an eyesore. You go wherever you want to go. You don't have any expression the entire day. You are so arrogant. Didn't you get recruited just because you showed your skills during the internal competition? We are different from you. We have worked hard to get to where we are now, unlike you who have never experienced any setbacks. You just need to build a good relationship with Almighty Z. You imitate other people's playstyles and you don't have anything of your own. A woman shouldn't be the vice captain. Even Almighty Z disappoints us when it comes to choosing people. Why did he choose someone like you? What a joke. Almighty Z chose me because I play better than all of you. If you can't take this lying down, you can challenge me to a duel. But I know that people like you who gossip behind people's backs will always be like this. You talk about how hard you work, but your focus will never be on esports. If you really like it, you would have gone to practice a long time ago. You shouldn't be here gossiping and saying that your eyes aren't sore. I'll still say the same thing. If you don't want to win, you can play for fun. Why are you playing professionally? Everyone who joins a professional team wants to stand at a higher position and no one wants to lose. You joined because Supreme Alliance is famous and you want more people to know about it. What's the point of saying such things? Please, we aren't like you. We only want to be popular. The little figure's expression was still indifferent. Different from me? I am indeed different from all of you. What I want is simple, I want to win. I want Supreme Alliance to always stand at the top and not be pulled down by anyone. This is my motive for playing professionally. At the same time, I can earn money to support myself. For those who have never thought of entering the National League, it is better not to neglect their studies. After all, only those who have walked the path of esports know how difficult it is. Isn't it normal for Supreme Alliance to reject me? You are mocking us not because you don't want to be popular but because you know you won't be able to be the first in the advancement competition. What a joke. Do you think we are like you, lacking money so much that we have to prove ourselves? Forget it, I'm not talking to a retard. The little figure glanced over. Since you know I'm a retard, don't create a smurf account here and talk about Almighty Z as a fan. From Bojio's angle, she could clearly see his face turning green. He probably hadn't expected the little figure to know his secret. His expression changed instantly. The little figure retracted her gaze. This isn't a world where you can climb up just because you pull someone down. Of course, you will say that you didn't think that way because you felt indignant and that Almighty Z's actions were wrong. You can talk about it after the advancement competition. With that, the little figure turned. She didn't seem afraid that they were all taller than her. Her voice was calm. I will win and destroy all of you. You. The person wanted to attack. The person beside him reminded him that there was a camera above him. That person's gaze turned dark. The few trainees didn't notice. Bojio watched the entire scene. Ever since that day, there seemed to be many voices coming out. The youngest trainee of Supreme Alliance was too arrogant and didn't know how to cooperate with the team. After being found out, she became arrogant and would always say things that would slap her own face. Some fans claimed to have seen the entire process and were disappointed with Supreme Alliance's selection rules. They felt that this wasn't the Supreme Alliance they knew. Someone even said that Spadesy chose people based on their looks or that she had received some kind of benefits. Another wave of people came out to express their disappointment. In the end, the child seemed to be anxious. This was also the reason why Bojio started to look at little Mo Bay. She was indeed likable. But this child was too straightforward. She was easily broken. Bojio had wanted to reason things out with the kid, but now, she couldn't help herself. But the moment she met her eyes, she decided to forget about it. Anyway, they were all here. At the very least, they could raise the child. Also, how far could Supreme Alliance go? No one could predict it. After all, the circle would change. Bojio held her chin and smiled lazily. Feeding the child always gave her a sense of achievement. Chin Mo just sat there, his aura colder than usual. Little Mo Bay could feel it. After she was full, she went to train. Chin Mo glanced at the child before retracting his gaze. He brought a certain someone towards the office. Bojio was still sleepy. It wasn't good to wake up so early. After entering the office, Chin Mo arched a brow. You like children? A long time ago, Bojio didn't have any special feelings towards children. But ever since she had met a certain someone through the window, she didn't know why she couldn't feel at ease whenever she saw a quiet and cold child. In the future, because of this, she would forget that children could also be a trap. But now, she seemed to have thought it through. It was probably because she had met little Mo Bay, who was like the Almighty when he was young. Children were more like angels. Especially this kind of child who had facial paralysis. Her ears would turn red when she was teased. She had her own unique judgment and didn't follow the crowd. She was indeed a charming existence. Chin Mo walked over and placed a hand on her side. He lowered his body. Since you like it so much, give birth to one yourself. Bojio hadn't reacted yet. Chin Mo spoke again, his emotions calm. After you enter university, we'll go to the 5th Avenue and stay there. There won't be any messy people that you need to feed. It'll be convenient for you to prepare for pregnancy. Bojio wanted to ask Brother Mo if he was actually jealous. But the Almighty lowered his head and kissed her lips. His breath lingered at the tip of her nose. She could still hear his voice faintly. In the future, if you want to feed someone, consider your husband, Mrs. Chin. Bojio smiled, her silver hair moving slightly. All right, but Brother Mo, you're always so jealous. In the future, when we really have our own children, you won't be jealous of the child, right? Chin Mo lowered his lids, his thin lips landing on her face. His emotions were still calm. That depends on whether he knows how to behave. Chapter 1540. What's considered sensible and what's considered immature? Bojio decided to ask in advance so that he wouldn't get jealous. Chin Mo glanced down, his tone calm. You have too many questions. Bojio was about to reply. Chin Mo leaned down and kissed a certain someone. Not only could he keep her quiet, but she wouldn't have time to care about anything else. Hence, Bojio missed Lin Feng's message perfectly. Actually, when Lin Feng saw Little Spade's question, he had been thinking about how to reply. Tell the truth? How was that possible? This was a matter of a man's reputation. Not replying. Little Spade must have thought that he didn't manage to take him down. His words were too strong and wouldn't be believable. Lin Feng moved his fingers and typed a few words. I'm taking care of who, his waist hurts. That's all, I won't say any more. Such a reply should be extremely trustworthy, right? Before this day, he had wanted to brag about his skills this morning. But now, it seemed like he didn't know how to brag. But he couldn't tell Little Spade that he was the one below. After Lin Feng sent the message, he decided to rest. In his current state, he wouldn't be able to meet anyone. When his mother asked him when he came in, he said he had a cold and wasn't feeling well. That was the only thing he could say. Otherwise, he couldn't say that he was still the one below after sleeping with who. Thinking about this, Lin Feng was reminded of the scene yesterday. Why didn't he reject him when he lowered his lids? He felt as though he was a magnetic field that had a fatal attraction. Should he say that he was too handsome, or was it because of his skills? Lin Feng shook his head, trying to shake off the image in his mind. Unexpectedly, before he could shake off the image, his phone rang. The caller ID showed that it was Yun Hu. When Lin Feng saw the name, he froze and pressed the mute button. He looked at the phone as though he was looking at a monster. His eyes turned round. But as a man of steel, his pride told him that if he didn't dare to pick up the call, he wouldn't be a man. Didn't he just sleep? Didn't he just fail to attack and get suppressed? Didn't he just use the things he bought on himself? What? Wasn't that right? Anyway, he was already home. Was there a need to be afraid of Yun Xiaohu, who was 10 miles away? There was nothing to fear. Answer the phone. After Lin Feng was mentally prepared, he took a deep breath, placed the phone by his ear, and pressed the answer button. He purposely lowered his voice to make the other party sound mature and steady. Hello. Not bad, my aura is at least full marks. It wasn't suppressed. Lin Feng evaluated himself. He heard him say, run after sleeping. Is that how you play, Godlin? F***ck you're Godlin. Lin Feng absolutely believed that this guy did it on purpose and was about to explode. Yun Hu's voice came again. Are you feeling unwell? Not bad. Lin Feng moved a little awkwardly. Yun Hu's voice was still calm. The moment I opened my eyes, you were gone. I thought I had a dream yesterday. After all, I'm used to having such dreams all these years. Chapter 1541. I bought medicine for you. Yun Hu lowered his voice, sounding a little hoarse. You need to apply medicine to that area. It wasn't a big deal, but Lin Feng blushed at the old man's words. He tilted his head. It's okay, I'll be fine after a nap. Besides, I'm not there. Where are you? At the Lin family? Yun Hu asked casually. Lin Feng replied. Since they weren't in the same place, Yun Hu couldn't do anything to him. Unexpectedly, Yun Hu's next sentence was, wait. Lin Feng. It better not be what he thought it was. Lin Feng couldn't wrap his head around this thought. Just then, he heard some noise coming from downstairs. It was indeed Yun Hu. Other than the medicine, Yun Hu also brought 2 bags of fruits, which were Mother Lin's favorites. Mother Lin was elated when she saw Yun Hu. Why are you free? I'm here to see you, godmother. Yun Hu had always been good with words. Mother Lin's smile deepened. Didn't we just see you? Don't leave today, we'll cook fish tonight. Okay, Yun Hu replied. He pretended to ask casually, where's Lin Feng? He's sleeping upstairs. I don't know what's wrong with him recently, he's acting weird. He insists on staying alone and doesn't let me into his room when he has a cold. Mother Lin shook her head. He's really grown up, he knows how to be shy. Lin Feng listened to his mother through the door frame. He really wondered whose real mother she was. She was basically inviting a wolf into the house. Lin Feng jumped up from the bed, hesitating if he should lock the door. If he didn't lock it, it would be really awkward for him to see Yun Hu now. If he locked it, it would be too deliberate. Just as Lin Feng was hesitating, a low voice came from downstairs. Then I'll go up and see him. Go. Mother Lin was really happy. I'll go cut the fruits. Lin Feng. His mother was sending him to the wolf's mouth. It was like this in the past and now. Lin Feng felt that his cold couldn't be cured. Since he couldn't avoid it, he might as well be more generous. He decided, he couldn't lose face no matter what. What was there to be afraid of? When Yun Hu walked in, Lin Feng quickly adjusted his expression and sat back on the chair, pretending to play a game and start a live stream. Yun Hu hadn't expected to see such a scene. He thought that someone should be lying in bed right now. I can still play games? After Lin Feng sensed that someone had entered, he pretended to be aloof and looked down. You're here? Yun-Hu didn't say anything. Instead, he walked over and placed his hand on his forehead. Lin Feng paused. His aura had obviously softened. You can just talk. Why are you hitting me? F***ck, that's cheating. You're not going to make a move. Yun-Hu arched a brow. He lowered his gaze and pressed his forehead against his. This made Lin Feng recall the scene from last night. It's really me. I don't have a fever. Lin Feng stretched out his hand to push her away, but when he moved, he suddenly pulled his waist, causing him to stiffen in pain. Yun-Hu noticed his discomfort and placed his fingers on the back of his waist. That action seemed to wrap around Lin Feng's entire body. Lin Feng only felt that the temperature on his face was getting hotter, but the strength of the kneading was just right. It was really a case of a tiger being bullied by a dog. If they were to do it again, he would definitely not be suppressed. The next time he saw the boss of that shop, he would definitely ask him to give him something more normal. He shouldn't give him anything that had a hastening effect. If it wasn't for that thing, he wouldn't have been so helpless. What a blunder. That's right, it was a blunder. Lin Feng would never admit that he wasn't as skilled as someone else. Let me get it back next time. When Yun-Hu heard this, he arched a brow. There seemed to be a hidden smile at the corner of his lips. Sure. Next time. This kind of thing should be based on ability. This fellow didn't seem to understand his position. But it didn't matter. As for Yun-Hu, he was very supportive of Lin Feng's wish. But usually, only things that would never come true would be called a wish. Go to the bed. When Lin Feng heard these words, he took a huge step back. F***ck, what do you want me to do on the bed? Apply the ointment. Yun-Hu looked at that person, his voice faint. What else do you think I want to do? Lin Feng was slightly embarrassed. After a moment, he said, don't say such ambiguous words in the future. Just apply the ointment. Yun-Hu glanced at him. Okay. Lin Feng was still a little uncomfortable. After that person touched the ointment, he wanted to rub it on his neck. To reduce the swelling. Lin Feng thought to himself, you still know that when you kiss someone, you don't care about your life. But he didn't say it directly. Instead, he insisted on doing it himself. Yun-Hu didn't say much and placed the ointment in his palm. He glanced at the messy bed again. A certain someone must have been pretending just now. How was it possible that he was playing games? Yun-Hu glanced over, his gaze landing on Lin Feng again. Lin Feng didn't know what to do under that gaze. But he heard him say, take off your pants. This time, Lin Feng didn't act rashly. Why would I take off my pants? What do you think? Yun-Hu reached out and pressed down on his back. There's a place where I can help you apply the ointment. It's more convenient. Lin Feng watched as the angular face got closer and closer to him. It was so close that he didn't even have a chance to resist. He could only cover himself with the blanket. Even the back of his neck was red. He didn't even look at the person sitting beside his bed. After that, Lin Feng did sleep for a while. But when it was time for dinner, Mother Lin definitely came up to rush them. Hey, after Hu Zi came, you even recovered from your illness? Lin Feng didn't say anything. Beauty, I'm forcing myself. After all, I have to eat with you. Don't be talkative, come down and eat. Mother Lin went downstairs happily. Lin Feng. His words were flippant and Yun-Hu's words were sensible. Did his mother really speak based on bloodline? He hadn't eaten much since last night. Lin Feng was hungry. When he saw the table full of dishes, he couldn't control his chopsticks. Potato spicy chicken, chopped red pepper fish head, steamed lotus root, these were all his and Yun-Hu's favorite dishes. His mother usually found it troublesome to cook and never did it. She was really her own son. Lin Feng cursed in his heart. He lowered his head and planned to eat to his heart's content. But he didn't know what was wrong with Yun-Hu. Wherever he extended his chopsticks, Yunhu would stick his chopsticks there as though he was going against him. When he wanted to pick up a piece of chicken, Yunhu snatched the food from his chopsticks for the third time. Lin Feng was about to get angry. Yunhu placed a green vegetable in his bowl. You aren't feeling well. Don't eat such spicy food. Mother Lin thought that Yunhu was talking about the flu. Who is right? Go and get yourself a bowl of soup. Lin Feng remembered the information he had researched online. For example, as a qualified attacker. After waking up the next day, he had to make porridge or soup for the person on the bed. At that time, he had planned to be gentle and considerate in front of Yunhu. Now, he was the one drinking the soup. Lin Feng's mood was obvious. In front of the table of food he liked, he couldn't eat anything. It was really depressing. Moreover, Yunhu was going to sleep here today. Even though it was still a little early to sleep, Lin Feng would be reminded of the previous night whenever he saw the bed or the way Yunhu rolled up his sleeves. It was still awkward. Mother Lin also noticed that her son was unusually quiet today. She didn't know if it was because of the flu. When she passed the fruit to Yunhu, she said, "Ask him if he has anything on his mind recently." Yunhu took the fruit plate and said, "He probably isn't feeling well. He will be fine tomorrow." Is that so? Mama Lin breathed a sigh of relief. I thought he was unhappy about the blind date. Yunhu paused. Blind date? It's a business cooperation company. It's also an old friend who works with the Lin family frequently. Mother Lin said, the other party said that his granddaughter is a fan of Lin Feng and has always wanted to meet him. She has a good impression of Lin Feng and recently, he has decided to let the two of them meet. This way, it would be convenient for them to discuss business. Speaking of which, I don't want to see Lin Feng running around like this. The Lin family doesn't lack money, but you should understand that it can't be compared to the past. Some people are now keeping a respectful distance from Lin Feng, probably because they are afraid that Lin Feng will ask them for help. These people still don't understand Lin Feng. You grew up with him and you should understand that he won't ask for help unless he has no other choice. Besides, the Lin family hasn't reached the point where it has to ask anyone for help. In the past few years, I haven't been controlling Lin Feng. He can do whatever he wants because he said he likes to play games. Before you went overseas, he talked to me and said that he would retire after the Asian Cup. He is now preparing for this. As his mother, I can tell that even though he looks like that, he will be able to shoulder all the responsibilities when the Lin family really needs him. But there's something, Yunhu, you have to tell him that even though his grandmother and I are the only ones left in the Lin family, it doesn't mean that all the responsibilities will fall on his shoulders. He can do whatever he wants to do. He can play sports for another 2 years. Both his father and I looked forward to him coming into this world. Our initial hope was for him to walk the path he wanted to walk. The more Yunhu listened, the deeper his gaze became. It was so deep that he couldn't find his footing. It wasn't that he didn't feel guilty towards Mother Lin. But compared to the guilt, he really couldn't leave that person. Basically, the happiness that all parents could think of was to see their children get married and have children. This would never happen to Lin Feng again. If it really happened, Yunhu didn't know what he would do. Chapter 1542. Yunhu was about to speak. But when he looked up, he saw the figure standing at the staircase. He shook his head at him. It was very slight, but it made Yunhu understand that today wasn't a suitable day to confess anything. But it was precisely because he understood that he tasted something bitter in his mouth. It was the same taste from the tip of his tongue to his heart. Yunhu watched as the figure turned and walked back to the room. He said a few comforting words to Mother Lin. In reality, he didn't even know what he said in such a state. Just like what Mother Lin said, others might not understand Lin Feng. But he knew better than anyone else. That person appeared to be carefree, but he knew what responsibility was more than anyone else. Even now, Yunhu could still remember that stubborn look. Both of them weren't tall when they were young and they were often bullied. Speaking of which, he had always stood in front of him. It wasn't because of how strong he was at that time, but because he would always say to those people, "Don't bully me." Even if he couldn't beat him, he would still say that. At the start, Yunhu felt that he was stupid. He looked like a little bun, but he still stood in front of him. Didn't this guy know how to run first? He had asked someone before. In the end, a certain someone opened his eyes wide. "If I leave, who will protect you?" It seemed to have been from that time. Yunhu felt that he had a very important person. He was 5 or 6 years old, but he only wanted that person to accompany him. Who was the one who said that when we came into this world, we were all lonely individuals? This feeling couldn't be erased. Even if you had parents who loved you. In the dead of night, you still want to be alone. Someone who was good to you. Lin Feng had never been a person with stable results since he was young. But every time, in order to be in the same class as him, he would always work harder than anyone else. Everything you get is not meant to be in your hands. Even if in the eyes of many people, it was good to have a good life. But when you had a good life, you wanted friends, even someone who was more than a friend. When he was young, he didn't want to be a lover. He was not that good at first awakening of love. But compared to being a lover, he wanted to be with the other party for the rest of his life. This thought existed countless times. Hence, Yunhu was afraid. He was afraid that Lin Feng would shrink back because of some responsibility. Hence, when he entered with the fruit platter, Yunhu didn't say a word. He pressed her against the wall and kissed her lips fiercely. However, Lin Feng didn't continue pestering him. Instead, he used his strength and said in a deep voice, "Even if lightning strikes you, you're not allowed to regret it. Lin Feng, you slept with me, so you have to take responsibility." Lin Feng paused for a moment before cursing. Since it was inconvenient for him to move, he could only hold his forehead and growl, "You were the one who slept with me. Don't go overboard." Yunhu didn't linger on the topic. Instead, he lowered his head, his voice calm. "I won't let you go on a blind date. If you really go, I'll destroy all your relationships just like how I did in school. I'll snatch whoever you like. You should understand that it's easy for me to do that." When Lin Feng heard this, his mouth opened and closed. "You did it on purpose then?" "Yes." Yunhu's eyes dimmed. He seemed to have gambled everything. It didn't matter if he was confident or self-centered. It didn't matter if he dragged this person into the most difficult path. He couldn't let go. In the past, he could still tell himself that it was fine as long as he stayed by his side. However, when he truly obtained someone and tasted the sweetness, he would understand that seeing him happy was nonsense. Only he could give him his happiness. Lin Feng watched the expression of the person in front of him. A sense of familiarity slowly came over him. He remembered when he had seen Yunhu reveal such an expression. It was the first time he went to KFC with a girl he had feelings for. Back then, they did their homework on the second floor of KFC. Unlike now, high school students could still go to coffee shops. After finishing their homework, he had to treat her to a meal. In the first year of high school, he had already started to want to play games. Hence, he was very interested in the big players in the shopping mall. Moreover, that girl wanted to play too. They went upstairs after their meal. At first, there wasn't much. After that, he grabbed a doll and gave it to the girl. The girl blushed and hugged him. At that time, Lin Feng was a little confused. Before he could react, he saw Yunhu. That person wasn't wearing the school uniform. That person wasn't wearing the school uniform, but the Supreme Alliance's uniform. He just stood there, one hand in his pocket, looking at him without a word. Lin Feng felt awkward at that time. After all, when he was young, he would feel shy when his best brother saw him with a girl. Moreover, Yunhu had sent him a message asking where he was. His reply was that he would be back soon. But it had been more than an hour since Yunhu's message. Lin Feng originally wanted to call out to Yunhu. But that person didn't seem to see him. He turned and left. Lin Feng remembered that was Yunhu's expression at that time. After that, the girl sent him messages every day. Then, she sent him a message every 3 days and a week. Occasionally, when she was bored, she would send him a message. Lin Feng only wanted to join the team. He didn't think much about this aspect. But he didn't say that he didn't care. He still wanted to pick a gift for that girl's birthday. But on that day, Yunhu brought a girlfriend back. It was that girl. Lin Feng was indeed a little dumbfounded. However, what he would feel the most would probably come from his brothers fighting over him. He even communicated with Yunhu. In the future, tell me in advance if you like someone. He remembered that Yunhu tilted his head and took off his uniform. Why? Are you afraid that the person I like won't like you? Lin Feng fought him back then, but he didn't land his fist on the other party's face. Be more serious. I just feel that since we're in a relationship, we should be more serious with each other. Besides, you could have told me in advance that I wouldn't have touched anyone you liked. Isn't that good? F*ck me. Indeed, it's good. But what if I say that I always like people you like? What are you going to do? Lin Feng? You're really, I'm joking. I'll tell you in advance in case you hate me. I'm really sorry about this. I know you like her. I knew it when I saw you guys at the big players, but I couldn't control it. Chapter 1543. Lin Feng didn't know what expression to show anymore. The Yun family will definitely arrange a blind date for you. Compared to me, Yunhu, shouldn't you think about it more? You're the only child in the Yun family and you're in a different industry. You should know if you're suitable for me. In the past, you said you liked me but you never let me come into contact with your circle. When you went overseas, I did some research. Many people like men while harming women. How many girls have been married without realizing it? How many people still think they're forced to live this way because they want to carry on the family line? I can't understand it. If it was me, liking men is liking men. Who asked me to like you? You're a man. I won't harm any other girl. Even if I end up alone, I won't be forgiven by my mother. I will be like this and perhaps disappoint my mother. When I was young, she asked me what kind of wife I wanted to marry. My grandmother doted on me and gave me everything I wanted. If I wanted to play sports, she would let me play sports. If I said I would stay in school for another year, she would let me stay. I was even a little afraid of telling them what kind of relationship I had with you. My mother has always been open-minded, but even the most open-minded parent would cry after hearing this news. I've let her down the most in my life. Now that the Lin family has fallen, it's because I've acted according to my own personality. I want to continue playing esports, but it's no longer suitable. My hand speed can't keep up and I can't put all my heart into it. I'm not afraid of the netizens saying that Lin Feng can't do it anymore or that you're a disappointment. I'm not afraid of that. I'm afraid that I won't be passionate about what I'm doing now. Besides, my mother and grandmother need me. I understand that my mother is good in business and most people can't do anything to her. But I hope that I'll be the one attending the necessary social gatherings. I might never be able to get married and have children to fulfill her wishes, but I want to take on some responsibilities. If I really start a relationship, I'll be especially busy. Can you take it? I'll probably be discussing projects everywhere. I might even pretend to be a grandson or I'll only have money in my eyes. When that happens. Chapter 1544. The sudden flirtation made Lin Feng cough. I don't need you to tell me that I'm handsome. Yunhu smiled and didn't say anything else, but his gaze was still on his face. Lin Feng turned his head, the back of his ears still a little red. After seeing her tomorrow, I will tell Fox Feng that I plan to retire in 2 days. In the future, I will have to manage the company and attend classes at school. I won't have time to join the team anymore. But I'm still very happy. At least I can stay until the recruitment. When I saw little Mo Bay, it was like seeing Luo Luo, Little Spade, and Captain. Talent really exists. The Supreme Alliance wouldn't just disband, right? When he reached the end of his sentence, Lin Feng lowered his head slightly. When his black hair fell down, it covered his eyes. No one seemed to like mentioning the word retire. If it was possible. They all wanted to play one more match. Even the sounds of mockery could be heard. Every match would be extremely stressful. But after so many years, he seemed to be used to it. There was a group of people who had always been with him. From when he was a minor to when he was an adult, and from when he was ignorant, he grew up to be a man with sharp features. If it was possible, he really didn't want to disband. MMH, Yunhu replied faintly as though he was saying it to himself. It won't. He knew very well that Lin Feng made this decision. Between esports and him, he chose him. He gave up playing esports for another year and a half to take on all the responsibilities of the Lin family. But it was to repay the debt they owed. Yunhu couldn't get rid of Lin Feng's guilt. Nothing else happened that night. Even though Lin Feng's heart was beating fast. But more than that, he felt comfortable with the existence of another person. The two of them slept on the same bed, their heads leaning against each other, just like how they used to do homework and train at the same time. At that time, they were also trainees of the Supreme Alliance. They just wanted to participate in the competition one day. Now, everything seemed to be perfect. The next day, Lin Feng received a message from Bojo. There was only one sentence. Guess if I believe what you said, Flower Lin. Lin Feng lowered his head and snapped a photo of Yunhu in an imposing manner. He sent it over. He's still on my bed and I'm already awake. I don't think I need to elaborate on the rest. After sending the message, Lin Feng took out a suit. He planned to go to the company to attend a meeting as a low-level manager after the meal with the woman. However, just as he was about to take off the t-shirt, the person behind him suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a pair of deep, black eyes. You're awake so early? Yunhu's voice was low and hoarse, probably because he had just woken up. Lin Feng's hands were a little hesitant. He didn't know why, but it wasn't like he hadn't changed in front of this guy before. Why did it feel so awkward now? It was as if his back was being burned by someone's gaze. Even his face was burning. Forget it, who cares? Lin Feng grabbed the hem of his shirt with both hands and quickly dug his head out. The t-shirt was still hanging on his arm. He felt the footsteps getting closer and closer to him. There was a faint sense of a powerful existence. But before he had the time to look back. Chapter 1545. It was a kiss. It was like a light breeze. But it made Lin Feng's shoulders tremble. His hands turned soft and his neck turned red. F***ck, what are you doing? Kissing you. Yunhu didn't stop because of his anger. Instead, he moved his lips up half an inch and placed it behind his ear. Lin Feng didn't know what expression to make. His waist was hugged from behind and he was about to be kissed again. Who could take it? He was almost getting a reaction from the kiss. Yunhu noticed the change in him. He chuckled softly. It was a little deep and he took a step closer. Lin Feng reached out and pushed him away. He took off his t-shirt and threw it to the side. Don't act like a hooligan in the morning. Hooligan? Yunhu looked at him, his gaze deep. Boss Lin, who is going to come back in 2 days, it shouldn't be a problem for you to face such a kiss. The words Boss Lin successfully made Lin Feng happy. He put on the white shirt, his aura high. Of course it's not a problem. Since it's not a problem, why don't you kiss a little longer? Yunhu had already placed his arm by his side. His right hand was supporting himself against the wardrobe. He tilted his head slightly and with a tilt of his eyes, he kissed Lin Feng. Such a space was more suitable for doing bad things. Even the sound of breathing could be heard clearly. Each sound was louder than the one before. Lin Feng had that feeling again. The air seemed to have been sucked out of him. His feet felt light and his heart was beating so fast that it made him blush. He could hear the sound of clothes rubbing against each other. Lin Feng. You're getting a reaction. That light chuckle was like a fire that was sprinkled over him. It was so hot that Lin Feng couldn't think. Yun, who originally wanted to leave a mark on this person, especially since he was going out to meet a girl. He was very clear about a certain someone's charm. Usually, his face looked like a little puppy. But with his height, long legs and narrow hips, he would be popular on any live streaming app. He was the type that young girls liked. Not to mention the way he looked when he wore a white shirt, a suit and a watch. Yun, who admitted that he was jealous. Hence, she didn't even hold back, and the kiss on Lin Feng's neck was exceptionally deep. Sometimes, Lin Feng felt that it was inconceivable. He was clearly a straight man of steel. How could he have fallen for her seduction so quickly? Did Yun Hu secretly learn something behind his back? Or perhaps Lin Feng took advantage of the gap and raised his eyes, slightly panting. Where did you learn all this from? Does Hatsune know all this? Yun Hu paused for a moment. Then he chuckled lightly and placed his right hand on his thigh. Why? Jealous? Eat your sister's vinegar, I was just casually asking. Lin Feng's eyes fluttered. It's the same the last time I saw you. You're starting to go to those kinds of places. I just feel a little unfamiliar. Yun Hu lowered his body slightly, as though he was whispering into Lin Feng's ear. Indeed, people often send people to my place and there are many entertainment venues, but I haven't touched any of them. With a cream cake like you around, I don't want to eat cake crumbs. Chapter 1546. Why don't you let me enjoy it now, almighty Lin Feng? Yun Hu said, lowering his lids. Only then did Lin Feng realize that his leg had been lifted by this person. He took a step back and was pushed against the wardrobe. Some of the clothes inside slid off the hanger, making noises. It was probably because such a secret space made it easier for the active party to take action. Before Lin Feng could feed the other party, his breath was snatched away once again. This time, the force was much greater than the last time. It was as though he wanted to swallow him whole. Even his breath was hot. It was said that men used their bodies to think. Lin Feng didn't believe it at first. But now he believed it. Because sometimes, there was no time to think. It was too hot, too erect, so he wanted the other party to help. Most importantly, Yun Hu wanted him to show this side. When he lifted the corner of his lips, there was a hint of blackness. Just meet, no more than an hour. After you're done, call me, I'll wait for you nearby. Even if she's pretty, you can't have a good impression of her. After this ends, delete her WeChat. Yun Hu, damn you, is this the time to talk about this? Lin Feng's body was so hot that he just wanted relief. But the person who was controlling him stopped at this moment. Yun Hu blocked his hand, his voice calm. If you agree, I'll serve you. You should know that it's better if I help you. F***CK. Lin Feng was going crazy, his handsome face blushing slightly, his breath hot. I agree, just meet, delete my WeChat when I come back. Yun Hu hugged the person who seemed to have been scooped out of the water. He used strength, lowered his lids, and kissed his neck. Only he could see him like this. His emotions were aroused, and his handsome appearance was revealed. Only he could see him. Other people. Be it men or women. He couldn't stand it. Who could see him like this? Yun Hu lowered his gaze, as though he was saying something in Lin Feng's ear. Lin Feng opened his eyes, and then, as though he was released, he leaned back into the wardrobe, the heat still lingering on his body. But because of the other party's breath, the words were extremely clear. I like you, Lin Feng, I like you. It really was. Lin Feng raised his arm and pressed down on his bangs. If that was the case, it wouldn't make sense if he didn't respond. Me too. Yun Hu, who was kissing his left shoulder, suddenly paused. His gaze wavered and suddenly became unfathomable. Lin Feng's half-bent leg froze because that thing was too obvious. Hey, it's so early in the morning, Yun who pressed him down and didn't move. Instead, he whispered in his ear, you did it on purpose, didn't you? You knew the timing wasn't right, that's why you flirted with me. I'm just replying to you. Lin Feng opened his mouth. Who knows? Did you take some medicine? Chapter 1547. F***CK. Lin Feng interrupted Yunhu. After recovering his strength, he pulled his collar over with one hand. If you dare to do that, I'll cripple you. Yunhu chuckled lightly. I haven't waited for 5 years. Lin Feng wanted to say something. Yunhu glanced over and planted another kiss on his lips. You can do it now if you want. This state is good. Lin Feng dispersed the heat on his body. Good my *SS, I haven't pressed it back. Then, should I press it back now? Yunhu stretched his hand over. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Then, he pushed the door open. Lin Feng's entire body froze. Yunhu's reaction was fast. He closed the wardrobe. Then, he turned his head. It was Mother Lin, but she didn't enter. She opened the door and said, go down for dinner. Where's Lin Feng? Isn't he up yet? Yunhu blocked the door and smiled. He's in the bathroom. Mother Lin nodded and said, I made your favorite egg noodles. Yunhu placed one hand behind his back. I'll go wash up and go down immediately. Mama Lin said, okay. Then, she went downstairs happily. As a strong woman, she didn't cook at home often, but since the children were around, she was willing to cook for herself. Yunhu really went to wash his hands. After he was done, he said to the gloomy Lin Feng behind him, it's all your stuff. Lin Feng really felt that this person deserved a beating. When he was brushing his teeth, he was thinking about pressing it back. The two of them left the door at the same time. Mother Lin told Yunhu to come over when he was free. Yunhu sat in the front passenger seat and glanced over. I'll come and disturb Godmother often. What do you mean by disturbing? Mother Lin said. It's our home. Lin Feng fastened his seatbelt and interrupted. You've always been the one who kissed me. I'm the one who was picked up. Mother Lin smiled and didn't forget to remind Lin Feng. Speak properly when you meet today. Don't be silly and learn from Yunhu, understand? Lin Feng glanced up and thought for a moment. In the end, he didn't say the words that wouldn't end well. He started the car and didn't talk much along the way. When they got out of the car, Yunhu reached out to press on his right hand. I'll change and come pick you up. I know, hurry up and go in. Lin Feng could sense his uneasiness. Sometimes, he would think that he was pretty impressive to be able to make someone like Yunhu feel uneasy. The location of the meeting was a very high-end coffee shop. Lin Feng was not late. Instead, he arrived early. He ordered 2 drinks and paid the bill in advance. Just as Yunhu had said, he was too eye-catching in his suit and white shirt, especially when his collar was slightly unbuttoned. When he raised his arm to check his watch, he looked even more handsome. This made the girl who had just arrived blush. After taking a deep breath, he said, God Lin. Lin Feng turned around and saw a girl standing there. He smiled and said, Miss Liang, right? Shall we sit down and talk? The girl was very excited. After all, this was not only the closest she had ever been to her Prince Charming, but it was also an opportunity for them to develop into a couple. She had prepared for so long, and now she let her grandpa do the talking. Just for this day. Chapter 1548. The girl stilled, her smile stiff, but she didn't want to give up just like that. She clenched her fists. We'll know after we get to know each other, right? I've really liked you for a long time. I watch all your matches. Since you watch every match, Liang, then you should know who I like. When Lin Feng said this, it was because he knew that Yun who had been watching their competition and should have some understanding in this area. After all, it wasn't as if no one had paired him and Yun who together online. The girl's expression changed. Don't tell me that the rumors online are true. You and Almighty Yun, aren't you, good brothers? We were indeed good brothers in the past, but now we're lovers. Lin Feng's gaze wavered, his expression turning serious. I hope you can keep this a secret. As for the rest, I can't reply to Miss Liang, but thank you for always supporting and liking me. Swoosh. The girl seemed to lose control and stood up from the table. You don't have to thank me, because I won't like you in the future. I really didn't expect you to actually like men. What are you doing? Are you cheating our feelings? Lin Feng finally realized that he had misunderstood something. Miss Liang, you seem to have misunderstood. Forget it, I'll take it as a misunderstanding. The girl grabbed her bag and walked out. Her previous liking was a joke to her. Since he liked guys, why didn't he admit it when his fans asked? He even hoped that she would keep it a secret. He was afraid that his image would crumble after everyone found out about him. The girl couldn't take it anymore, gossiping with her female friend. When Lin Feng had said those words, he hadn't expected what would happen next. He hadn't expected anyone to understand. In the end, he had been too naive. He had become stupid from playing games. That was why he didn't know his own position. Because of her identity, he didn't think it was a big deal. She would look at it rationally. But that wasn't the case. He had realized the problem when Yun who had come to pick him up. At that time, Lin Feng hadn't been able to lift his spirits, but he hadn't shown it in front of Yun who. After all, such things would happen frequently in the future. But the outcome was far from what he had imagined. The internet broke the news. A certain famous esports player is obviously gay, but he still went on a blind date. He's obviously cheating. Such a title would naturally attract people's attention. A large number of posts were asking, who is it? Who is it? I really don't dare to say it. I'm afraid that my fans will tear me apart, so I'll just vaguely mention it. Everyone can guess. They used to be mediocre in games, but I don't know how they became a god. They probably relied on their CP to always appear in 2v2 matches, becoming this year's champion team. F***CK, that's impossible. Wind? Cloud? Is it Lin Feng or Yunhu? My almighty Yun has always been very powerful, alright? Is that Lin Feng? Sounds like it. Impossible. God Lin, would never do such a thing. Then go ask your god Lin whether he is gay or not. What a joke. Actually, I've long wanted to expose this Lin Feng. I heard that he was the one who came up with that thing earlier. That can't be, I always thought Supreme Alliance was good. Supreme Alliance isn't bad, but ever since I found out that he relied on his looks to make a living, I don't like him anymore. Gaming is a competition of skills, is it about looks? Almighty Lin, was obviously joking. Can you guys talk about the same thing? Sure, ask him if he's gay. Such an incident would definitely spread quickly. Even the Qin Group's building was filled with tabloids. Some of the trainees who had long disliked the selection system seized this opportunity. No matter who came to ask, they were full of dissatisfaction. Everyone's wish is to join the best team in the country, but this team appears to be one way in front of everyone, and another way in private. Recruitment doesn't look at skills, but looks. Who asked handsome people to attract more fans? That's fine, but what is this? The team doesn't look like a team at all, it's all personal. He even said that he would give every member a fair chance. Does he really think we don't know? Senior Lin wasn't considered good in the past, but he relied on Almighty Yun to get in. How do we feel? Disappointed, really disappointed. Do you know how Lin Feng feels now? I don't know, he didn't join the team. He's probably thinking about how to do public relations. In reality, some people were wrong. Public relations had always been handled by Feng Yi and not the members of the team. It wasn't that Lin Feng didn't want to make things clear. Feng Yi only told him one sentence. I can't explain it clearly. The atmosphere in the team changed. Even little Mo Bei, who only ate steamed buns every day, could sense it. But it didn't seem to affect her training. Some of the people waiting downstairs had come to interview her. At that time, no one knew that this short-haired child would become the gaming genius Bei that everyone would chase after in the near future. Hence, the person who came didn't even turn on the camera and asked her what she thought about Senior Lin's appearance. These people probably didn't understand little Mo Bei's personality. Little Mo Bei only glanced at the person. She was carrying the keyboard, her face cold and noble. She didn't say a word. Right. She didn't say a word. That was why the people above had the chance to speak. When little Mo Bei heard those words, she retracted her short legs that were originally going up the stairs. She was about to rush over and say something. But she was pulled back by the figure standing at the corner. Under the dusk light, her silver hair and the long curve of her chin could be seen. Her handsome and evil face could be seen. She bent down and placed her finger on her thin lips, gesturing for her to keep quiet. It was Almighty Z. She looked very handsome. Little Mo Bei didn't understand. She followed Bojio silently for a period of time before stopping in her tracks. Bojio glanced over and smiled. Do you really want to say something? Little Mo Bei replied. Chapter 1549. Hence, that night, Bojio brought little Mo Bei back to the Qin family. When Qin Mo saw the little figure following behind a certain someone, his hand that was unbuttoning his sleeves paused for a moment. Madame Zhang was delighted. Where did this little handsome boy come from? He looks really good. Little Mo Bei was still carrying her red keyboard. When she heard Madame Zhang's words, the back of her ears turned red. Bojio placed a hand on the little person's shoulder and smiled brightly. Madame Zhang, Bei is a girl. Little girl? Madame Zhang looked at little Mo Bei again. Look carefully, she is indeed much cuter than those naughty little kids. Right, Bei is very obedient, but her expression is a little cold. She looks just like Brother Mo when he was young, making people want to pinch her. When the little person heard this, she turned her head and saw the person's clear smile. It was very warm. Little Mo Bei wanted to look a little longer. Just then, she saw their captain walking towards them. Even though she was wearing home clothes, her aura was still very strong. Little Mo Bei bowed and called out, Captain. Qin Mo replied faintly. He didn't say anything but his gaze conveyed some meaning. He was probably telling her not to look at people she shouldn't look at. When little Mo Bei received that gaze, her little face was still expressionless. But in her heart, she was thinking that the seniors were right. Captain's possessiveness towards Almighty Z was very obvious. Let's go, Bei. Let me observe your gaming habits from a close distance. Bojio still had a lazy smile on her face. Little Mo Bei nodded and followed behind Bojio obediently. When he saw this, Qin Mo narrowed his deep eyes and his long legs followed. Bojio originally wanted to teach Mo Bei alone. She didn't understand why the Almighty followed her in. He sat opposite them. His slender legs were slightly crossed and there was a magazine on them. Bojio looked up and glanced over. She didn't pay much attention and sat beside little Mo Bei, watching her enter the game. The adult and the child seemed to forget themselves when they started doing things. Especially when little Mo Bei understood Bojio's intentions. She reversed her position and used her second skill to charge forward, completing the counterattack. Bojio reached out and caressed her head. You're so smart. Come, Bei, let's celebrate. Smile. Little Mo Bei hadn't moved. There was one person who couldn't sit still anymore. It was the Almighty. He reached out his hand to hold a certain someone's wrist. It's time to eat. Aunt Zhang prepared a lot of food for you. The moment Bojio heard about food, her dark eyes lit up. She turned towards the clock hanging on the wall and stretched lazily, her hair moving slightly. It's already so late, it's indeed time to eat. Little Mo Bei also stood up when she heard that and was planning to leave. Bojio pressed the little person onto the wooden chair. It's a good time to nourish your body today. You won't grow taller eating steamed buns. Madame Zhang's cooking is really good. Little Mo Bei couldn't reject her idol's passion, and it seemed like the captain didn't say anything. Indeed, Qin Mo didn't care about eating. However, would a certain someone pay too much attention to this little bean? Qin Mo didn't say anything. After all, he had to consider the child's pride. Hence, little Mo Bei watched as Almighty Z was dragged away by the captain to wash her hands. Even during the meal, the captain was the one who placed the chicken wings in Almighty Z's bowl. The usually handsome and devilish Almighty Z seemed to only be in charge of eating. Little Mo Bei didn't expect Almighty Z to be like this at home. However, when Almighty Z was in front of the captain, she was much more relaxed. Even the smile on her face was different. Little Mo Bei didn't know how to describe it. She just felt that the atmosphere was very good. After the meal, the two of them walked into the study room to continue their training. Little Mo Bei felt that the things in the study room didn't match up. Half of the room was filled with books and most of them were related to psychology. On the other side, there were 2 desktop computers and 4 laptops. There were also some unknown models on the floor. Later, when she went to drink water, she found out from Madame Zhang that the Qin family study room didn't look like this in the past. The captain had emptied half the room for Almighty Z so that she could store her things. Little Mo Bei had never come into contact with matters of the heart. But when she was in middle school, she had seen her classmates having feelings for each other. She felt that the best kind of love was what the captain had for Almighty Z. He was such a cold and abstinent person, but he allowed another person to occupy his private area. Even the things placed in the study room didn't match the overall style. The captain would also allow Almighty Z to do as she pleased. Even the office table had candies. Little Mo Bei lowered her eyes. As a fan, she knew that Almighty Z liked to hold a lollipop in her mouth even when she was playing games. This candy should be prepared for Almighty Z. Because little Mo Bei was distracted, someone almost caught up to her in the game. Her mouse moved slightly. She touched Bojio's arm. That was when she realized that Almighty Z had fallen asleep. Just as little Mo Bei was hesitating whether she should speak, the captain walked over. The captain, who was sitting on the sofa, had already walked over. He bent over and carried Almighty Z. He looked at her calmly. That's all for today's training. If you have any problems in the future, you can look for me. Captain, do you feel that I'm taking up Almighty Z's time? Little Mo Bei mustered up her courage when she asked this question. Qin Mo glanced at the little person and said calmly, "It has nothing to do with time. You are taking up my time." Even though little Mo Bei had a poker face, she didn't know how to describe her expression at this moment. Qin Mo stood there with the person in his arms, his back facing her. His legs were slender and he glanced sideways. Even if she doesn't teach you, you should be able to fight 1 against 3. The genius newbie of the Supreme Alliance can't be called that for nothing. MMH, little Mo Bei replied and carried her backpack. I will do my best. There is a document on the table. Qin Mo's tone was calm. Other than the official contract, there are some problems with your playing style. After reading it, don't look for her. When you are in the team, make her drink more water, understand? Little Mo Bei understood what her captain meant. Anyway, he didn't want her to look for Almighty Z privately. Then, when they were in the team, she would help him control Almighty Z. From that day onwards, little Mo Bei was in charge of watching Bojio drink water. Of course, this was all in the future. And in the Qin family. Qin Mo had just bent over to place Bojio on the bed when she woke up. Her silver hair was a little messy from sleep. She reached out to rub her left eye lazily. I fell asleep. Where is Bebe? Chapter 1550. The way he addressed her. Bojo didn't need to look at his addictive face to know that the Almighty was jealous again. She had assumed that the Almighty would use the excuse of bringing someone home for a meal to bully her. Unexpectedly, he pulled the blanket over her and pulled her into his arms, his voice calm. We'll talk after you wake up. He was coaxing her to sleep. Bojo really wanted to sleep since they were about to start. It didn't seem like her to read until 11 p.m. Pfft, she was too hard-working. Bojo moved in Chin Mo's arms. Chin Mo arched a brow, his handsome face inching closer. You don't want to sleep? Then do something else. Bojo shut her eyes immediately. I just wanted to ask old Fox Fong how he is going to resolve Flower Lin's matter. He isn't going to resolve it. Chin Mo's gaze landed on one point, his eyes darkening. Lin Fong will announce his retirement tonight. Compared to what others say, the Lin family's opinion is more important to him. Bojo stilled. Retirement? Today? He was going to retire, but he brought it forward by less than a month. Chin Mo's gaze was calm. This time, he has made up his mind and probably won't be so reluctant. It isn't a bad thing since he has to take some time to resolve his family's problems. Bojo replied, remaining silent. Sleep. Chin Mo lowered his lids, planting a kiss on her head. That was when Bojo realized that Lin Feng's retirement might be painful for her, but for the Almighty, it had a different meaning. They had worked hard together for 3 years. From Supreme Alliance's weakest point to where they were now. The people from the same generation as the Almighty were also retiring one after another. Bojo had expected the people around her to bring it up. But she hadn't expected it to be in such a manner. Lin Feng returned home late that day. He wasn't avoiding it, but he had to settle his other matters before meeting his mother and grandmother. Hence, not long after the incident, he had planned to tell Feng Yi that he wanted to retire. That was how Chin Mo knew about the news. As a manager, Feng Yi didn't agree with Lin Feng's decision to retire. If you choose to retire now, you won't be able to explain yourself. Think whatever you want. To be honest, it's a little annoying. Ever since I joined Supreme Alliance, it has been going back and forth. When Captain lost his memory, they told him not to come back because it would affect the competition. I didn't want to continue playing. It has nothing to do with anyone, it's just something I can't figure out. In the past, when esports wasn't accepted, I didn't feel this way. At that time, I hoped for the industry to be recognized. For this thought, I would often do stupid things. The all-star era of esports is coming, my personality isn't suited to be a public figure, this era isn't suitable for me, besides, my condition is deteriorating. With that, Lin Feng paused. You should have realized it a long time ago. Feng Yi didn't reply immediately, instead, he turned to light a cigarette. After a few puffs, he tugged his collar open. This was the first time he revealed a tired smile, but it didn't change his aura. Yes, it isn't just you, the entire Supreme Alliance probably can't adapt. Young Master Qin has some thoughts in this regard. What thoughts? Lin Feng had a feeling the answer wasn't one he wanted to hear. Feng Yi glanced over, smoke swirling around him. Disband Supreme Alliance. Lin Feng froze. When did you start having this thought? We've discussed it before. Feng Yi seemed much more relaxed. Some of the analysis isn't wrong, there is a gap in Supreme Alliance. Logically speaking, all of you are considered old almighties in the industry. It is normal for you to retire, even young Master Qin. He can only last for a year, but a year is too short. Who will replace Uncle Ian, who will replace you, and who can replace young Master Qin? Lin Feng opened his mouth, momentarily at a loss for words. I never expected Captain to have such thoughts. In a certain sense, his mission has long been completed. He didn't mention it because he was waiting for everyone to bring it up first. Feng Yi tilted his head, flicking the cigarette in his hand. Supreme Alliance has been on the decline since a long time ago. Many teams brought up many conditions, be it money or resources, just to poach him. Fortunately, he is Qin Mo and the Qin family doesn't lack money. He doesn't have to be like the other professional players, unable to make a decision. He stayed here and never thought of leaving Supreme Alliance. In the end, when the funds ran out, he invested. Feng Yi chuckled lightly. Actually, that person's motive for joining the professional team was very simple. He said that the person he was looking for liked to play games, so when he stood on the professional stage, he would always be seen by that person. Even until now, there are still people doubting his intentions for joining the industry, thinking that he didn't really love the industry. But so what? In my heart, he is the most qualified captain of Supreme Alliance. Lin Feng, do you remember what he said when you first joined the team? Lin Feng's fingers stilled. I remember, it wasn't easy for Supreme Alliance to recruit. Yes, it wasn't easy. Firstly, I didn't have any connections, the Feng family's connections were all in the entertainment industry. Secondly, he was still a high school student. Other than him, Supreme Alliance didn't have any outstanding members. Compared to other big teams, they weren't even worth mentioning, but at that time, he told Yunhu and me to join Supreme Alliance and that he would lead you into the National League. Lin Feng finished Feng Yi's sentence, a faint warmth in his heart. Feng Yi chuckled. Isn't it cool? Besides, regardless of what he promised you or me, he did it. Lin Feng lowered his lids slightly. Yes, he did it. Chapter 1551. Feng Yi stubbed out the cigarette on his finger. He stood there, dressed in a well-ironed suit, as if he had never changed. All right, let's first announce your retirement. This kind of decision was received by almost everyone in the battle team. Including Yin Wuyao, who was watching Coco and the others eat instant noodles. The atmosphere quietened down in an instant. It seemed like it had reached this point. They wouldn't show it no matter what they encountered. Just silence. Coco was the same. Yin Wuyao was the only one who spoke. I wanted to talk to Feng Yi about my retirement, it would be better to announce it at the same time. Coco's hand that was holding the plastic fork paused, then he replied, Shui Yao Yao buried her entire face, probably worried about what expression she would reveal. Feng Shang swiped his phone, his fingers tightening. Yin Wuyao lit a cigarette. That's normal. Even if he knew it was normal, he would have thought of it. But it was still a little hard to accept. The news had already been sent out. In an instant, good and bad comments came flooding in. Some said he couldn't bear to. Some said Lin Feng had a guilty conscience. The truth was just as Feng Yi had predicted. But regardless of the voices, at this moment, it didn't matter to Lin Feng. But things like snowballs would get bigger and bigger as they rolled. They started to explain what Lin Feng had done. Those who were gay were the first to be attacked. The rest were additional revelations. There wasn't a need to verify their authenticity. There were many fans standing below the company, just wanting an explanation. The media came as well, knowing that today was the day Supreme Alliance would confirm the new members. Many trainees were waiting for this battle. Of course, they wanted to interview Lin Feng the most. No matter what Lin Feng said, it would be a topic. It was a pity Lin Feng didn't appear. Lin Feng wasn't worried about whether people would interview him or not. He was kneeling in front of the Lin family, looking at the figure sitting on the sofa, saying, Mom, I'm sorry, I won't be able to let you have grandchildren in the future. Mother Lin had always been a professional dresser. At this moment, she took a deep breath. She didn't know how to describe her emotions since last night. It wasn't that Hu Zi wasn't good, she had watched him grow up. But she didn't understand. How did things turn out like this? I remember that you like girls. Feng, can't you change it? I know that you and Hu Zi grew up together and have a good relationship, but you are both too young. It is very likely that you will recognize the current relationship as something else. As Mama Lin said this, she met Lin Feng's eyes. How could she not understand her son? He was saying that he couldn't change. I can't accept it. Mama Lin reached out to support her head. Let's not talk about whether I can accept it or not. After your father passed away, your grandmother has been waiting for you to get married. I've been helping you hide this incident. I didn't let some of the Lin family's clients tell your grandmother, but how long can it be hidden? I'm sorry. It seemed like Lin Feng had nothing else to say other than this sentence. Mama Lin stood up. I have to go to the company. The Liang family is very angry. We have to renegotiate the contract. I'll go talk to him. Perhaps because he had been kneeling for too long, Lin Feng's long legs were a little bent when he stood up. Chapter 1552. Lin Feng's fingers paused and he didn't say anything. Looking at her son, Mother Lin took a deep breath. I'll tell them that my son went on a blind date to make it clear to Miss Liang that they aren't suitable and that he didn't want to lie. However, the Liang family can even reveal their personal secrets. In the future, the Lin family won't share any resources with the Liang family. Lin Feng's body trembled and he raised his head. His eyes flickered and he said in a hoarse voice, Mom, you're so handsome. Don't be happy too early. I still can't accept you and Hu Zi. Mother Lin cried. Why do the two of you make the family worry so much? Lin Feng was most afraid of his mother crying. He was flustered for a while before he reached out and hugged her. That's all. I won't let you worry about me anymore. Mother Lin didn't say anything else. Lin Feng also knew that it would take a long time for him to accept this. He also knew that he had a good mother. He was born in a very happy family. It was just that this was too hard to accept. If it was someone he didn't know, it would at most be a matter of sexual orientation. But once he becomes your dearest and most beloved, how could he accept it? It was because he was open-minded that he knew that this path was too difficult. Many people said that men and women were true love. But in reality, it was rare for men to have a sense of responsibility. Even if they had a fixed boyfriend, they would find someone else to play with. Needless to say, what would happen after feelings disappeared? Mother Lin wasn't afraid that the two of them would fall in love. She was afraid that they wouldn't love each other anymore. When Lin Feng heard this, he lowered his gaze. I won't mess around and I won't find someone else to play with. If he feels that it's not fresh, then we'll break up. Even if it's hard, I won't regret taking this path. After listening to these words, Mama Lin completely understood that nothing would change. At the same time, as a mother, she felt that the child in front of her had really grown into a man. A man who could bear the burden no matter what. After the mother and son finished talking, Lin Feng planned to go to Grandma Lin's place. Grandma Lin still lived in the old courtyard house. There was a huge locust tree in the courtyard. In Granny Lin's words, she didn't want to leave this place. Firstly, the elders were all here. Secondly, if she stayed here, she would always be reminded of the time when she was young. Lin Feng basically came here every day. Today, Grandma Lin was still waiting for her grandson to peel oranges for her. That brat from the Yun family had arrived. Granny Lin looked up. What's going on? Are they fighting again? There was a slight injury on Yunhu's forehead, but it wasn't from a fight. His father had smashed it with the jade pichou placed at home in a fit of rage. There was no fight. Yunhu smiled. In order to let Grandma Lin see him more clearly, he bent one of his long legs and squatted down. Do you want me to peel an orange for you? Granny Lin chuckled and said, Did Feng cause trouble outside again and asked you to come over to take over? This time, it's not him. It's me. Yunhu peeled the orange and lowered his eyes. My dad thinks that I did something wrong and kept scolding me for being a brat. I thought about it and felt that it was indeed wrong. That's why I came to apologize to you. You have always been like this since you were young. Your father is also muddle-headed. They have been staying up there for too long, so their tempers have gotten bad. Your grandpa Lin used to be like this too. He would always take a bamboo stick and hit Feng, but you were always the one stopping him. He, your grandpa Lin was so angry that he made the two of you stand against the wall together. Do you still remember that? Grandma Lin patted Yunhu's head and said, "How could you cause trouble?" I remember. Yunhu stretched out his hand and passed the peeled orange to the old lady. Grandma always spoke up for us. Granny Lin took a bite of the orange. It was very sweet. At that time, everyone in the courtyard said that I spoiled my grandson too much. I think that the two of you are very good. And Yunhu passed a piece of tissue to the old lady. But this time, it's a little different. I really caused trouble. I pulled Lin Feng along to do something crazy. Grandma, do you remember when we were young? You asked us what kind of partner we wanted. I didn't say anything at that time because I was worried that I couldn't afford it. Now, I want to ask Grandma for someone. Yunhu paused for a moment. Grandma, can you give Lin Feng to me? Granny Lin wasn't an educated person. After all, they were all like this at their age. But at this point, Granny Lin understood what Yunhu was trying to say and what he was trying to say. The orange in her hand fell and rolled on the ground 3 times. Granny Lin paused for a moment before saying, "Your dad should hit you." Yunhu grunted in acknowledgement. Granny Lin was a little anxious. But you are both boys. You and Feng, if you are just playing, you haven't. Grandma, you should know that I've liked him since I was young. Yunhu's voice was very steady. He maintained his half-squatting posture. Granny Lin didn't say anything. After an unknown period of time, the card game outside the courtyard seemed to have been set up. Granny Lin then looked at his face again. I want to wait for my grandson to tell me personally. You can go back first. Yunhu lowered his voice. Grandma, I came here because I knew that he would come to talk to you about this. But if he were to tell you about this, he would definitely do a lot of thinking. He would definitely feel uncomfortable. It hasn't been easy for him recently. I think it's better for me to explain this matter. Firstly, if Grandma is really angry, you can vent your anger on me first. When he comes, you won't be so angry. Secondly, this matter is entirely my responsibility. He could have lived a normal life, but because of me, he has embarked on this path. When Granny Lin heard that, if you are really angry, you can vent your anger on me first. She thought about the two of them when they were young. It was always the kid from the Yun family who stood in front of her grandson and got hit by her husband. At that time, her husband would always feel embarrassed. After all, he was hitting someone else. But anyone who saw them would know that these two children were really good friends. When her husband passed away, Granny Lin thought about it. Even if the Lin family retreated, many people would still appear. But Yunhu wouldn't change. As expected, it was usually her grandson who came first and Yunhu who came later. The things she ate and used were never short. Even the grandson of the Zhang family next door couldn't do this. Every time he came back, other than eating a meal, he wouldn't even touch his grandmother for a while. These two children always asked her to chase them away. However, at that time, Granny Lin thought that something had happened to these two children. After all, they were always at odds. Now, it seemed that it wasn't that they didn't want to take responsibility or let someone down. They both wanted to come over, so they came to her to confess. Granny Lin looked at Yunhu. If I don't agree, will I become a stubborn old woman? Yunhu's gaze paused for a moment before he smiled. You are Lin Feng's and my grandmother, not a stubborn old woman. You have been smart since you were young. Granny Lin was still worried. Yunhu understood what the old lady meant. I won't use my intelligence on him. When the time comes, I will help him to deal with others. Sometimes, people were like children when they were old. Who knows if what you said is true or not? Then, Granny, watch me. Don't let me do anything that will let him down. Yunhu lowered his head and started peeling oranges. Granny Lin looked at his unmoving posture and sighed. I have always wanted a great-grandson. That's a little difficult. Yunhu and Lin Feng had completely different styles. His words were always practical. But it's not impossible. I have already contacted my friends in the medical field. They can find a surrogate. Surrogate? Granny Lin asked. Is that okay? Yunhu's voice was very calm. Granny, don't worry. Surrogate pregnancy is very common now. As long as both parties are willing, it's not a big deal. I have already arranged everything and sent the things to the other party. After saying this, he looked up. It's Lin Feng's surname. The first child's surname is Lin. The moment Lin Feng entered, he heard this sentence. He didn't walk closer, but he knew what Yunhu had done. He was still holding a bag of fruits in his hand. He stood there just like that. When Granny Lin saw her grandson, she didn't say much. Her eyes were red as she said, Rascal, come over here. Lin Feng walked over and copied Yunhu's posture. He half-squatted beside his grandmother. Granny Lin looked at the two of them. I don't know anything else, but I do know one thing. Since the two of you have decided to be together, you have to live a good life. Don't be so scheming, understand? Okay. I will. Lin Feng was still a little confused. He didn't expect Granny to agree so quickly. But he still had to be punished. Granny Lin asked Lin Feng to accompany her these days. They went to the temple and then to his grandfather's grave. In this way, the two of them really couldn't go to the club anymore. It was about time. They also realized that the internal selection competition of the Supreme Alliance was about to begin. It was probably because too many things had happened recently. So the competition this time was different from last year. Compared to last year's grand occasion. This year, the Supreme Alliance didn't release any information about the contestants to the media. All the people could see was their game IDs. The core of this competition was to choose the 3 most qualified people from the trainees to become the official members of the Supreme Alliance. However, the voices asking for a reasonable explanation from the Supreme Alliance were already louder than the voices for the competition. There were also some people saying, the Supreme Alliance isn't too old. They used to be so arrogant, but now they don't even dare to say a word. Haha. I heard that they only choose people based on their looks because it's easy to gain fans. This competition probably isn't worth watching. I really admire them for using the competition for public relations. After seeing so many things, I'm completely disappointed in the Supreme Alliance. I blame myself for being blind. Chapter 1553. The more it was like this, the more valuable it was for an interview. Someone said that they wanted to give everyone the truth. That was why they waited below the team. This situation wouldn't change even if Lin Feng didn't appear. Originally, Supreme Alliance didn't allow some people to enter. But the 3 trainees who had been interviewed felt that they were protecting their fans and it wasn't a problem to invite some people in. Moreover, if they weren't guilty, why wouldn't the team face them? This match would be broadcasted live. The team members were all there. They were discussing the criteria to select the people who could become team members this time. First, it was the ability to cooperate with the team. Of course, the most important thing was the individual ability. Every team needed someone like the king of solo challenges. After selecting such a person, he would integrate into the team and improve their teamwork. This was a standard that the team would use when choosing members. But it was obvious that the 3 trainees didn't think so. They felt that the team was obviously biased in their selection. This wasn't the philosophy that Supreme Alliance had promoted previously. Didn't they say that a team was more important? Why were they always lying? The 3 trainees discussed it for a while and told the fans they brought in about the incident. The fans wanted an explanation. After hearing this, they were disappointed, sad and a little angry. The trainees also felt the same way. If they were to follow this selection standard, the person who would get first place would definitely be that arrogant bae. Why did they have to be suppressed by a little kid? Because she knew how to make Spade Z happy. Speaking of this, they were already disappointed in Spade Z. This time, their goal was clear. After working hard for so many years, they couldn't be eliminated just like that. Since the three of them were a team, they would come up with a strategy. As long as they could pull the others to the last place. As time passed, the competition was starting. But at this moment, someone posted photos of Supreme Alliance on the internet, saying that there was a problem with the competition system. When Bojio and Coco walked over, the few people who had entered were still taking photos. Bojio stuffed a hand into her pocket and glanced down. She asked the assistant beside her, "Which department are they from?" "The internal department doesn't allow photos." "This, I don't know." The assistant was confused. "I'll check." Bojio glanced over, her gaze landing on their faces. She said slowly, "There's no need to check, they aren't internal personnel." At this moment, those people saw Bojio and Coco. He turned his gaze over and walked over as well. The assistant wanted to stop him. But it was obvious that they couldn't stop it. If they called the security guards, then there would probably be more comments on the internet. For example, they didn't cherish their fans, or the security guard of their idol pushed them, etc. Such news was innumerable. If it had been Bojio, she would have ignored him and walked away. But she was representing Supreme Alliance now, so she couldn't act according to her personality. It was quite depressing. Bojio stood there and didn't say a word. She lifted the corners of her lips, and when her gaze landed on the screens of their phones, there was a hint of mischief in her eyes. He probably understood the meaning behind this smile. Chapter 1554. Bojio tilted her head. The contents of the competition changed? When did that happen? What happened to the team spirit? Now, it's an individual. Bojio glanced up. All of you seem to have misunderstood Supreme Alliance. Supreme Alliance's recruitment principle has always been, "Come, take a look at me, a monster that can kill in the game, or someone like the Almighty who can carry the entire game." That's what we want to see the most. If not, what's the point of the competition? We can just play at home. You. Forget it. He didn't want to continue. So many things have happened and you don't even know how to reflect. Bojio smiled. Coco wanted to say something but she stopped him. She wanted them to leave. But Coco knew it was useless. Compared to this, Bojio was more concerned about who brought the outsiders in. When he looked to the side, he saw three figures not far away. So that was it. Bojio turned and was about to take a step forward. Just then, she heard the person behind her say, "Do you know how to remain silent about Lin Feng's matter?" Bojio stuffed her hands into her pockets. Lin Feng has retired. What else can he do other than remain silent? That's amazing, pushing the blame to us. If he didn't do anything wrong, he would have retired. Bojio lifted her lips. No matter what we say, they will misunderstand. What's wrong with remaining silent? I will let more people know your true colors. Bojio tilted her head and took another step forward. Whatever. At this moment, another person shouted, "We've been supporting you for so long. What exactly are we supporting? Are you sure Supreme Alliance won't die with him around?" "I'm not sure." Bojio's voice was calm. "But since we have met him, I can introduce him to you. My disciple, Bei, is said to have entered the team because of her looks. Indeed, we like her a lot. I didn't choose her to inherit the Supreme Alliance. She should take on whatever responsibilities she can. The Supreme Alliance has never been a team that binds anyone. That's why you are so irresponsible toward Supreme Alliance." Bojio didn't reply. This time, she really left. However, just as he turned the corner, he saw a small figure. The little figure wasn't wearing her private clothes today. Instead, she was wearing the Supreme Alliance's training uniform. As usual, she was carrying her school bag with a red keyboard in it. In the past, she was always expressionless, and Coco would pinch her face whenever he saw her, saying that she had facial paralysis. Now, the little figure was actually smiling, and his ears were red. Coco pretended to be frightened. He pulled Bojio and said, "Big Spade, hurry and check if little Mo-Bay has a fever. This child keeps smiling. F***ck. I always thought she couldn't smile." Bojio was helpless. "Everyone smiles, all right? Why are you so agitated? F***ck, you're too calm. Take your phone and take a photo of little Mo-Bay." Coco hugged his rabbit so he couldn't take his phone. Hence, he stuffed the rabbit into Mo-Bay's arms and took out his phone. "I have to send it to Lin Feng and Uncle. Little Mo-Bay is so cute when she smiles. She's so fierce when she kills people. Is her personality so cute?" Bojio reached out and caressed her head. She was smiling. She thought to herself, "That's because you haven't seen the Almighty's smile when he was young. He was even cuter and made people want to hug him." Chapter 1555. Bojio paused for a moment before lowering her lids and smiling. Her black earrings shimmered, carrying a mischievous aura. "I've been teaching you for so long, I'm already your master. Of course, you have to treat me seriously." When little Mo-Bay heard this, the back of her ears turned even redder. Her little face was filled with seriousness. "I will work hard and defeat them. Go ahead." Bojio reached out to adjust his collar. Coco watched as little Mo-Bay carried the keyboard and walked away. He turned his head and said, "Why do I feel that the disciple you taught isn't like you? Little Spade, your facial expressions are still very rich. I can't see any emotions from little Mo-Bay at all. Instead, she looks a little like Captain, especially little Mo-Bay's fighting style. Without saying a word, she can crush the opponent. She's so fierce. Captain too." Bojio glanced over, her lips lifting. Brother Mo has indeed taught her before. I wonder what kind of results she will be able to achieve after combining our playstyles. Coco was shocked. "You've learned everything? How is that possible?" Bojio smiled. "Little Mo-Bay has her own way of playing. I can only give her some guidance based on her experience. Why do I always feel that when you smile, someone will be in trouble?" Coco opened his mouth and bit the rabbit's ear in his arms. Bojio stuffed a hand into her pocket, her silver hair moving. "That must be your imagination. I'm just looking forward to my obedient disciple's adorable style. Killing as soon as the battle begins. Isn't this kind of fighting style cute?" Bojio's eyes curved into crescent moons. "The word cute depends on who uses it. It has nothing to do with the way you play." Coco felt that he really shouldn't provoke little Spade in the future. A person who could take down the captain was truly terrifying. The competition had yet to begin. The current members of Supreme Alliance were already seated there. Except for some necessary personnel. He was one of the contestants this time. There were a total of 4 teams with 20 people. There were contestants who had passed the closed beta test. There were also high-ranking players who were chosen by Supreme Alliance to participate. First, 4-2. In other words, the first round would be a team battle. The top 4 of the winning team and the MVP of the losing team, a total of 10 people would enter the finals. There was nothing wrong with the competition system. The first group battle was a test of teamwork. In the free-for-all mode after the finals, other than himself, the other 9 people were all enemies. It was a test of personal ability. A player who was the MVP of every match would directly become a professionally sports player. It was indeed different from before. But it was even more perfect. It wasn't like what the rumors said. However, when it came to the competition system, different people had different views. Those who knew the ropes would know that this kind of competition system was more inclined to select talents. The 4 temporary teams entered the arena. The first group would compete first. The second group's competition. This time, Mo Bay wasn't on the opposing side of the 3 trainees. Because of the lottery numbers. They were even on the same team. But even so, the performance of the 3 trainees could be seen with a single glance. Everyone knew that Mo Bay was best at being an assassin. However, one of them chose the assassin position as soon as he entered the field. Even Coco, the young master of a rich family, wanted to say F***ck like Lin Feng. What's going on? When those 3 were practicing, they had never fought against an assassin. Even though they were all trainees of the Supreme Alliance. The 3 trainees thought that they were not valued. In reality, from the Supreme Alliance's point of view, every trainee who participated in the internal testing was their future fresh blood. It was impossible for them not to analyze the position and data that everyone was good at. It wasn't like what the 3 trainees thought. But there was one point. Good people needed special treatment. Such a normal problem. From the perspective of the 3 trainees, it was because Mo Bay knew how to please Spadesy. Then there was nothing to talk about. After all, sometimes, a genius liked this point. It was human nature. Moreover, this genius was still wholeheartedly focused on esports. Bo Jiao liked this kind of person. She wasn't a coward when she entered the game. She fought fiercely and fiercely. After the game, she would practice seriously. She wouldn't slack off or have any other thoughts. After the incident, the media wouldn't only interview those 3 people. The other teams wouldn't only poach those 3 people. Bay's results were displayed here. Even if no one knew who Bay was. But there were many calls to Mo Bay. There must have been people who offered conditions to Mo Bay. Even when she was at the Qin family, Bo Jiao saw little Mo Bay holding a phone that was given as a gift. She lowered her head and sent a message. She glanced over casually and saw a sentence. I'm sorry, I won't leave the Supreme Alliance. It has nothing to do with money. She replied quickly. Bay, you should really reconsider. I can guarantee you that even though we are still a distance away from Supreme Alliance, in 3 years, no more than 3 years, we will definitely be the best team in the industry. In terms of development prospects, I think you are more suitable for our team. That's right. Su Yu's eyes lit up. Your team doesn't have a captain or Almighty Z. You aren't the Supreme Alliance. After sending this message, that child acted as though nothing had happened and continued to ask her how she could become the first in terms of finances in the shortest time possible. Earning money had always been simple for Bo Jiao. It had probably started from that time. Bo Jiao had the thought of taking in a disciple. But it was obvious. The 3 trainees didn't understand where they were lacking. Was it just in terms of skills? Not really. It could be seen from the character they chose this time. They were intentionally suppressing and ostracizing Mo Bay. No matter how much they said, they expressed how much they liked this industry. They just wanted to pull Mo Bay down so that the person who was the biggest threat to them wouldn't have any chance of advancing. If you don't fight in the jungle, little Mo Bay, what else can you do? Feng Shang had already begun to practice his stuttering, so now he could only spit out a few words at a time. Rao Rong had experienced something similar in the past, but he had never thought that such a thing would happen in the Supreme Alliance. He only laughed mockingly. I really don't like this kind of method. Chapter 1556. If that's the case, little Mo Bay's situation is bad. Coco was angry and worried. He really wanted to bite the ears of the 3 trainees like the bunnies in his arms. This competition is indeed difficult. It's not how to win but how to guard against your teammates. Rao Rong placed his arms behind his back, unwilling to see such a scene. Perhaps he should retire. Because the people around him would gradually become different. When they became different, this team might not be Supreme Alliance anymore. As someone with a criminal record, Rao Rong was able to come out because he had contributed greatly. After all, he wasn't the same as Coco and the others. He had experienced the darkness that existed in the industry for a long time. Hence, once the signs appeared, he would subconsciously not want to get close to it. They would probably fight for another half a year. Half a year later, the titled character retired. Chin Mo and Z would probably stop fighting. That was good. When they were together, they would be together. When they were retreating, they would retreat together. But even so, Rao Rong didn't want to see people who used such methods to enter Supreme Alliance. However, it was very likely that these three people would come in. Because from a probability analysis, the difference in strength between the two teams was too great. Their team would definitely win. The three of them would definitely be together in the second round of the Battle Royale. At that time, it could even be said that they had team spirit. Most importantly, the person who was supposed to show his face had lost in such a place. Rao Rong clenched his fists, probably because his thoughts were too dark. He couldn't help it. Who made him go through so much? He would unknowingly overthink. The truth proved. Rao Rong didn't overthink. Because the three trainees looked at each other, the smugness in their eyes said it all. The esports fans who watched the live stream didn't notice. That's strange. The last time I saw the video of Supreme Alliance's internal trainee, Bei was an assassin. His performance was amazing, he had a winning streak and brought everyone to the top. He became the internal trainee of Supreme Alliance with the first place in the single-player competition. I don't understand how he thought of it. He isn't fighting the opponent but fighting against Bei. Can some people stop talking nonsense? I really don't understand. Isn't it amazing to be the first in the single-player competition? Why did they have to give him the assassin position? What assassin position? He would stay anyway. It's fine to support him previously, calling him a gaming genius. Now, he even chose a character to fight against him. If he's really that good, he can bring everyone to the top. I want to see if Supreme Alliance is respecting the rules or letting him change the character. If it's the latter, then I'm sorry, I won't be a Supreme Alliance fan anymore. It's been such a long time, I'm really disappointed. I don't know about other things, but a good professional player should at least know how to fill in the position. It's too much to say that he's fighting against someone. We are all in a temporary team, everyone is thinking about winning and wouldn't purposely fight against a teammate. If he doesn't even know how to fill in the position, that only means he isn't qualified to be a professional. Chapter 1557. Top Lane Warrior. Everyone knew that this position was the most stressful position. Under normal circumstances, the person playing this position would face the two enemies on the opposite side. This required the assassin to frequently come to the top lane to help catch people. Otherwise, it would be easy to collapse. But from the lineup, Mo Bei should indeed choose this position. After all, there was a lack of a top lane defender. But even so, some people who had seen Bei's video started to say, "It can't be, will Bei play the top lane? She has no choice, there's only one position left." How helpless, are they going to say that someone else snatched Bei's role? She will use whatever role she is assigned. That's esports. But if Bei can even play the top lane, she will be a true almighty, the all-round type. F***ck, I really want to see that. When the three of them saw the role Mo Bei chose, the smirk on their faces deepened. Everything was going according to plan. They knew Mo Bei the best. She only knew how to jungle, she had never played anything else. They weren't jealous of who they were. They just couldn't stand people who relied on their looks and connections to become famous. Wasn't she good at gaming? Then, let everyone see how good she was if she didn't play as an assassin. With a swoosh, the special effect of the game appeared. The competition officially began. Coco's eyes were fixed on Mo Bei and the entire map. People who were used to playing as assassins would find it hard to play the top lane, no matter how good their basic skills were. After all, no one could be Little Spade or their captain. Those two people could really adapt to any position. After all, there weren't many people who could perfectly display their awareness, hand speed, and talent. No one could make accurate predictions like their captain, even calculating the cooldown time. These little MOB couldn't be specially trained in such a short period of time. Coco was really anxious. He turned towards Bojo, who was supporting the side of her face with one hand. When he saw her lazy expression, he instantly became listless. Little Spade, why are you so calm? What if I'm not calm? I have to personally play until the opponent calls me daddy. Bojo scoffed. I want to, but my captain doesn't allow it. Coco inched closer. The assassin position definitely won't support little MOB on the top lane. Little MOB doesn't have any skills to fight in the jungle. What exactly did you train little MOB? MMH, someone like you who came from a proper team wouldn't understand how difficult it is for us ordinary players to win a game. Bojo smiled devilishly. Coco chuckled. Normal players? Is it difficult to win a game? Aren't you ashamed to say something like that to the first clear king of Zone C? When you first came out, how many people wanted to cry? Every time they met you, they would lose. Let me talk about my experience as a newbie. Bojo was unusually serious. Coco saw this and was about to listen carefully. Bojo tilted her handsome face. Her eyes were extremely dark. When your teammates snatch the beasts, you can use them to develop your finances. Little Bebe is very suitable to stand alone in the top lane. I feel like you already knew that this would happen. That's why you trained little MOB in advance. Coco suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Bojo denied it humbly. How is that possible? The more I look at it, the more possible it seems, Coco muttered. Coco muttered, then his eyes suddenly narrowed. Little MOB sent a signal to gather, but no one came. F***CK, what kind of strategy is this? 3 people on the top lane? Chapter 1558. Indeed, it was a tower kill. Because the moment Bojo finished speaking, Chin Mo's eyes widened. The assassin hiding in the bushes on the top lane had already moved towards this side. From God's perspective, it could be seen clearly that it was a signal to attack. The opponent's tank took the opportunity when the minions arrived to attack first. After the assassin followed up and attacked, with the ADC attacking from the back, MOB was probably doomed this time. The commentator outside the arena said this. But in the next second, the commentator suddenly became excited. Wait a minute. She dodged it. Movement. Another movement. F***CK, 2 snake-like movements, is it a zigzag rotation? Beautiful. The screen was pulled up and everyone could see the game clearly. After Bei used the blade to block the opponent's big move, she turned her body and dodged the critical hit. In front of the computer, MOB moved the mouse, her left hand moving up and down extremely quickly. Of course, she couldn't dodge the opponent's ADC's attack. But she was still under the defense tower. By dodging the 2 most lethal attacks, he would be able to keep his life. They thought that it was over. But no one expected that at this moment. MOB leaped up, using her signature big move. She directly hit all the damage on the tank who was closest to her and was still under her tower. KO. The first drop of blood. The economy in the arena instantly became the first. The 3 trainees froze in the next second. They were sitting beside MOB. But because of this, they tightened their grip on the mouse. How did this little brat do it? They didn't support him, but he killed himself? Some fans who were standing outside the team and watching the live stream were instantly speechless when they saw this scene. After all, they had heard that the Supreme Alliance only looked at one's face and connections. That was why they came over to express their thoughts. But now, that kind of movement, and even 2 extreme movements in a row. Even though they were amateurs, they could tell that it was too powerful. How to dodge the opponent's moves. They had to know in advance where the opponent was and when he would cross the tower. As long as they could predict this, they wouldn't die. What made people stop was Bei's counterattack. She used the attack of the defense tower to get the first drop of blood. This was not something that just anyone could do. Your fighting style is still as fierce as ever. Bojiao smiled and leaned back, revealing a devilish smile. Little Mo Bei is angry. Coco tilted his head. You taught him that, right? As a master, I have to give him some guidance. She stuffed one hand into her pocket and stood up. She didn't care that people would say that she was biased and didn't care if her words would be recorded by the live stream. Bei, hurry up and finish the match. After you're done, accompany Master to eat crayfish. Many people who were watching the live stream recognized Spade Z's voice and the bullet screen started flying. Accompany Master? Master? F***CK, what's going on? My god, Z has accepted a disciple. Is this the one you mentioned before? What's there to curry favor with? He must be pretty awesome to be able to get God Z to be his master. I didn't expect that. Mo Bei couldn't see the bullet screen, but she could hear her master's voice. After all, with this earphone, she could hear the captain and vice-captain's sudden stop. But she couldn't talk to her master. She could only type the word, okay, on the screen when her character returned to the city. The next second, another piece of news came from the livestream platform. Manager Spade Z had been removed from the platform by Qin Mo. The reason was noisy. Bojiao couldn't talk to her disciple anymore. She tilted her head and asked Coco, am I noisy? Coco didn't reply to her. Beeping sounds came from the Almighty's group chat. Bojiao opened it. The first thing she saw was a message from the world's most handsome fatty. Ha ha ha, you are obviously jealous of Bei. How dare you say that little Spade is noisy? Qin Mo, you are really passionate on the inside. Bojiao sent a message over. The world's most handsome fatty, little Spade, I heard that your disciple has a poker face and doesn't talk much. Ask him if he wants to come to Xiangnan. Our captain doesn't talk much either. They are a good match. It isn't suitable for them to stay at your place. It would be embarrassing to disturb your relationship. Bojiao lowered her lids and typed a few words. I can leave him there for a few days, but you have to teach him something. If not, it wouldn't be right. F***CK, little Spade, aren't you shameless? You aren't giving him to us and you still want to learn? The world's most handsome fatty, let me think about it. I have my principles. Bojiao sighed. My disciple's cooking is delicious. It's a pity that I have my principles. Which day? Are you coming to Xiangnan or should I go to Supreme Alliance? Forget it, I will go to Supreme Alliance. I can't stay in Xiangnan anymore. Ever since Captain and Luoluo started dating, I feel like a huge third wheel. Even though they don't look any different from usual, Bojiao replied. You don't have to feel it. You are. You don't have to feel it. You are. Rao Rong replied, you don't have to feel it. You are. The rest of the messages were all following. After the 10th message. Luoluo replied, you don't have to feel it. You are. The person involved has appeared. Almighty fatty, you should know your place. Don't always stay in the base and be a third wheel. When Luoluo saw this sentence, her fingers froze. Just now, she had been joking with everyone like before. Unexpectedly, when she scrolled to the front page, she realized that they were talking about her and Captain. It was too late to retract it. More importantly, the moment she came back, she saw a sentence below. Xiangnan's Captain Xiao, Sanpang, go and rest. The world's most handsome fatty, Captain, I just came. I still want to watch the competition live stream. Xiangnan's Captain Xiao, go and rest. Spade Z, why aren't you going to rest? Third will Almighty Fatty. Luo didn't watch anymore. That was because all her thoughts were on that person. What did he mean by asking Almighty Fatty to rest? If Almighty Fatty really left, they were the only two left in the viewing room. Luo glanced up and looked towards the person sitting beside her. At that moment, Xiao Jing placed his phone down. He glanced over, his gaze deep. Zhao Sanpeng's heart ached when he saw this scene. Captain, I'm going to rest. Captain Xiao was a man of few words. But Zhao Sanpeng still felt as though he had been hurt as a single dog. But in the end, Luo only had 3 days left in the team. 3 days later, Luo was really going to leave. She probably wouldn't be coming back anymore. She looked like she was wearing her uniform. She was only left with 3 days. Zhao Sanpeng's hand that was holding the keyboard suddenly felt heavy. In the end, he smiled. Hence, he should give them some time to be alone. Chapter 1559. After Zhao Sanpeng left, only the two of them were left in the captain's office of the Xiangnan base. She didn't feel anything just now. Now, Luo realized that they were sitting a little too close to each other. In the past, they would watch other teams' live streams like this. It was probably because their identities were different or because of what he said in the discussion group. Luo steadied her heartbeat and looked at him again. She thought that he sent Zhao Sanpeng away because he wanted to say something to her. In the end, 1 minute passed. 2 minutes passed. 3 minutes passed. He was still watching the live stream. Speaking of which, both their relationship and the way they interacted. It seemed no different from before. Did he really know that being a boyfriend and being a captain were different? If this continued, there wouldn't be any progress. Luo had thought about taking the initiative, but she knew better than anyone else that this person never liked to take the initiative. Every time she was live streaming, he would throw a jacket at her. He was an old-fashioned person. Besides the fact that he didn't like it. She was more worried that he would think that she was that kind of person. She knew that he wouldn't. Luo straightened her body when she thought about this. Her long hair swayed and she wanted to say something. But before she could, he raised his hand and tapped on the screen. How do you think the newbie from the Supreme Alliance will play? Luo paused. Then, she smiled. The disciple taught by Z should be able to use an unexpected fighting style. However, no matter how he fights, the 3 people in his team have made a mistake. Not only will they not be kicked out of this match, but he will also be known by more people because of this tricky environment. Esports is just like this. That's why it's worth working hard. She was ostracized, marginalized and maliciously speculated. Every time, she felt that she should just give up. Anyway, no one would believe that she relied on her own ability to reach this stage. Another voice would come out. Your ability could only be proven on the battlefield. Become a member of a professional team and play for everyone to see. That was her in the past. Now, she saw the same method being used on Z's disciple. Luo had an indescribable feeling. She felt that she wanted to stay here. It didn't seem to be because she liked this industry. Some industries could erase all your passion. She liked it. She had so many teammates around her. He probably felt the same. That was why he heard her say that after she retired. If she wanted to find a boyfriend, she would have to see if he was suitable. But if they continued to interact with each other, they would discover, he just didn't want her to retire. Luo didn't know if she should be happy or sad. She was happy that he would always be her captain. The sad thing was that he would always stand at the position of her captain. Even now, they were still asking her the same questions, asking her to analyze every single Supreme Alliance member. She was still subconsciously training her team control. She wanted to tell him. Although she really liked him. But if he was only taking care of her as a captain. He just didn't want her to retire. There was really no need to raise such a condition. If she could, she also wanted to continue. However, she understood that her presence would only pull down the battle strength of the battle team. Moreover, there would be people who would say, look, the Xiangnan team that could make her stay isn't that great. But Luo didn't say anything. It was because he coveted his gentleness when she was still here. Chapter 1560. Xiao Jing, who was still watching the live stream, didn't notice Luo's emotions. After all, it wasn't easy for Xiao Jing to find out about this. Zhao Sanpang had nothing to do, so he decided to commentate the live stream in the training room at the side. Hello, can you hear me? Yup, I don't know what the commentators on the internet are affected by, but their commentary is too one-sided. Now, let me, Lord Fatty, personally say it. The score on the battlefield is 1-0. I'm not exaggerating or slandering, but it wasn't easy to get that first kill. Don't talk nonsense to me. It's obvious that the teammates are isolating Bei. But speaking of which, you still don't understand the Supreme Alliance. No, I should say that you don't understand Little Spade. How can the disciple she chose be just good-looking? What are you thinking? Someone like me? Why can't someone like me enter the Supreme Alliance? The person who said I'm too fat, stop right there. I'm just fat for fun. When I have a girlfriend like Captain, I'll immediately become Takashi Kaneshiro. Alright, back to the main topic. Although Bei got the first blood, the competition rules are clear. Whoever enters the next round depends on the overall score of this round. I'm siding with Bei? Get it straight, little friend. I obviously want to poach Bei to our Xiangnan. How can I just siding with her? Yes. You really can't understand our thoughts as geniuses. Disappointed? Whatever, I, Lord Fatty, rely on my face to make a living. Xiangnan didn't get the championship this year and the members are all bad-tempered? My temper isn't good recently, but it has nothing to do with winning or losing. It's because my most important teammate has retired. Alright, let's not talk about this. Let's get back to the competition. Bei needs to be careful. During the team battle, will her teammates, before Zhao Sanpang could finish his sentence. On the screen, the first team battle in the jungle had started. Mo Bei went to support. But the three of them didn't come out immediately after Mo Bei used her skill and took ahead. They didn't come out immediately. Instead, they watched from the bushes and only came out after Mo Bei was killed. This looked like a perfect assassin's harvest. But they could have come out earlier. At least, they could have helped Mo Bei resist a wave of damage. But no one went to resist. Zhao Sanpang couldn't help but say, F***ck, it's really that sneaky. Someone immediately objected. Zhao Sanpang was a conspiracy theorist. They were both trainees. Why was he siding with Bei? Also, the wave of assassins just now killed the most people. How was that a sneak attack? Didn't all competitions have to be played like this? Winning was the key. This was a layman's way of saying it. If an ordinary player were capable of such a feat, they would be doomed. Indeed, there was nothing, and there was nothing wrong. Or perhaps he was taught by another team. There was no problem. But Supreme Alliance wouldn't teach its members that way. What's more, it wasn't for the sake of winning. It was just to sell out a teammate and pull down a person's score. Even Supreme Alliance, the organizer, couldn't say anything. Because once someone said that this kind of fighting style was wrong, that would cause even greater ripples. After all, they only believed that there was a problem with Supreme Alliance's recruitment. Those three trainees were the ones who truly loved esports. They had worked so hard for so long, why couldn't they make it? That Bei had merely been chosen by the internal department. Someone who did not have a team spirit was not the esports existence they had in mind. Group soul. They seemed to have gotten the word wrong. Group soul was never something that laymen could understand. What exactly was a group soul? You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.